Trump is back, and 2025 is shaping up to be a game changer. Here's the twist. With every sweeping policy comes a lot of hidden opportunities only if you know where to look. So today, I'm pulling back the curtain on how Trump's agenda could move trillions of dollars across industries. From oil rigs to AI labs, this is the roadmap to staying ahead of the game and cashing in while most people are just gonna stand still. So let's jump in without further ado. The main issue here is that every time the White House changes hands, it's like a giant reset button for the economy. New policies shift industries, money flows in unexpected directions, and when that happens, what happens? The people who see the patterns early come out on top. Trump's presidency in 2025 is no exception. From deregulations to defense spending, these are not just policy shifts. These are profit signals for you, the savvy investor. So please, forget the politics for a second. It has nothing to do with Trump. Let's focus on the money and unpack the biggest moves that you can make to position yourself and your family for a lot of success. Let's talk about the opportunities. Opportunity number one, this AI infrastructure, literally what I'm calling the digital arms race. Let's start with the future in mind. What is the future? Artificial intelligence, right? Trump has announced a $500 billion private sector push to build America's AI infrastructure. Now, this isn't like a random technology upgrade of wires and cables. It's an insane transformation. We're talking about data centers popping up like Starbucks, cloud platforms becoming the backbone of every single industry and sector, cybersecurity companies protecting all of these systems. So the question is, who benefits from these? NVIDIA, the leader in all the AI hardware, Microsoft and Alphabet, who dominate cloud computing, maybe some smaller players building ethical AI frameworks or these niche AI applications. Now, the crazy part is, here's a wild stat. The global AI market is expected to grow to 1.8 trillion by 2030. And the groundwork, someone has to lay it. It starts with this $500 billion investment. It is literally like the gold rush, but instead of digging for gold, we're mining for data. That's just insane. Right? Now, here's opportunity number two, deregulating oil and gas. And now we're looking at old energy's new era today. Now, let's go old school for a second. Oil and gas. Trump's energy plan is all about removing these friction-based roadblocks. So think about it. When you have fewer regulations, it means more drilling, faster pipelines, and expanded all these liquefied natural gas export stuff, which means companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil stand to benefit directly from all this deregulation. And do not forget equipment manufacturers, because someone has to build the rigs and the supply and the tools. Because if you remember what happened the last time around, during Trump's first term, the US became a net exporter of energy for the first time in decades. And this wasn't just an energy milestone, it was a financial windfall for the oil and gas industry. And while renewables may take a backseat, traditional energy companies are super ready to cash in big time on this. So the question is, will you ride this wave or will you watch from the sidelines? It's crazy, right? They're giving us actual blueprint to do what we need to do to profit from this presidency. Now, here is opportunity number three. The military spending is literally, how do you profit from defense spending? Again, let me caution you, please, put aside all your politics, as this is about taking advantage of the current environment for your family. So next up, the big idea is the military, and Trump has promised to increase defense spending, and history tells us exactly what happens next. Defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Northrop Grumman literally thrive when these military budgets kind of swell. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about weapons and fighter jets anymore. This is not about Top Gun. Modern military spending is tech-driven. So think drone systems and artificial intelligence, all for battlefield decision-making and super advanced cybersecurity. This is a whole new era of defense. And the companies that are providing these innovations are insanely positioned to grow exponentially. But here's a pro tip as I think about it. You got to look beyond the big names, because smaller, specialized companies working on high-tech military applications could be the real winners. Because in today, with technology, a 5-person company with a great idea could win big time. The defense landscape has evolved, and so does this opportunity. Honestly, this is getting wild. Let's jump to opportunity number four, which are tariffs and manufacturing. We've already seen this at play, right? In essence, we are talking about a global supply chain total reboot. And if you haven't kept up with the news, this is already at play. This is already moving. It's not even the first 100 days. So let's talk about the trade wars, or as I like to call it, the supply chain reboot. Trump's tariffs on China and Canada, etc., means importing goods just got a lot more expensive. So for companies like Nike or Walmart, this creates a pretty sensitive dilemma. So number one, do they absorb the extra costs and shrink their margins? Or number two, do they raise their prices and risk losing customers? Or number three, do they just move all the manufacturing back to the US, which is what the tariffs were intended for? So many companies will choose the third option because they have no other choice in this matter. And this opens the door for a few things. Number one, real estate firms building new manufacturing facilities. Can't forget construction companies expanding all these industrial spaces. And what about how you get goods and services across the country, like railroads, like Union Pacific's or CSX, moving goods across the country on the railways? Remember, tariffs aren't just taxes. These are very political economic levers, and someone stands to gain. And if we understand this, if you understand this and you understand where the pressure points are, you can position yourself to profit when the blueprint and the agenda is telling you exactly what's coming. The economic daisy chain of this is absolutely nuts. Here's opportunity number 5. So I know you're going to judge me when I talk about this topic. I judge myself when I'm talking about this topic. So I encourage you to keep an open mind, as we're not talking about politics or debating the morality of anything, but this theme is real. And I say real, meaning private prisons. This is the business of deportations, and this one is extremely controversial. So please, please, please help me put the politics aside and just stick to the numbers. Trump's plan for mass deportations means one thing: an insane surge in demand for these detention facilities. So the question is, who benefits from all of this? Private prison companies like CoreCivic and the Geo Group. During Trump's first term, these private prison stocks skyrocketed in anticipation of these increased deportations. Now, if the same policies come back in 2025, history could totally repeat itself. But here's the nuance that I've been thinking about. Who else? What else? How else? What else is part of this daisy chain? Because we know that this isn't just about prison operators. Other people are involved in this ecosystem. And who is a part of this ecosystem? Number one, transportation companies that are moving detainees, right? Number two, construction firms building or expanding these facilities. And number three, even tech companies providing surveillance and tracking systems. Again, I'm sorry, love it or hate it, the financial impact is totally undeniable. Now, the question is, it's important to know these themes because they're here. And if you don't like them, maybe you can at least profit from them. And I will tell you the truth. I know it feels messy for some of us. It definitely feels messy for me. All right, here's opportunity number 6, tax cuts. And in essence, when you think about these tax cuts specifically for corporations, there's going to possibly be a corporate buyback bonanza. Let me explain exactly what this means. If you talk tax cuts, Trump has floated the idea of reducing the corporate taxes yet again. And that has one major ripple effect, which are stock buybacks. Now, we run a public company, so I know this pretty intimately. So let me explain how it works. When the taxes go down, companies save money. So sometimes, just sometimes, instead of reinvesting that money in growth, many use that cash to buy back their own shares. Now you may ask, why? Because when you reduce the number of shares in the market, that boosts the stock price. And as it changes the number of shares outstanding, which means the denominator changes and therefore the equation changes. During Trump's first term, we saw record levels of these stock buybacks. Companies like Apple and ExxonMobil totally led the charge because they had so much cash on their balance sheet, created a bunch of short-term windfalls for investors because it raised the price of the stock and the value of the company. But here's the catch. The buybacks don't create a real value for the company based on growth or innovation. They just increase the shareholder wealth in the short term because of this financial manipulation. And it's totally okay. It's done all the time. And it makes sense because of the denominator, which is the number of shares outstanding. So while this is a great opportunity for some quick gains, this is not a long-term strategy, but it will happen, right? So if history repeats itself like it often does, which is exactly why we study it, there's a good chance that this happens, which means you have a massive opportunity to profit from this if you play your cards right. This is the blueprint that we've got to think about to profit from what is happening in the Trump presidency, just by putting the politics aside and thinking about what exactly may happen with their agenda and how we can profit from it, because they've given us the playbook on exactly what they're going to do. All right, here's opportunity number 7, which is the deregulation of financial services. In essence, this is the Wall Street wildcard. Now, as a former Goldman Sachs banker, let's talk about Wall Street because I have lived this world and I can give you some perspective on it. Trump's push to deregulate financial services is actually kind of a double-edged sword, having lived in that environment. On one hand, fewer rules means banks and hedge funds can operate more freely and create more profits. This can really lead to increased lending, more mergers and acquisitions, higher profit margins for many financial institutions, and those will drive a lot of value. But here is the flip side. The flip side is deregulation can also lead to increased risk, as we saw in 2008. That said, investors are already bullish. They've already spoken. After Trump's election, the bank stocks totally surged in anticipation of this deregulation because they know how Trump and his administration thinks. So companies like JP Morgan and my former employer Goldman Sachs and Bank of America all stand to gain if these policies go through. So what's the big lesson here for us? This is a sector with high potential, but also some risks. So talk to your financial advisor, tread carefully and do your homework because this is probably going to happen as you deregulate Wall Street. There is going to be some unlocking of opportunities here overall. Now, just to be clear, all of these are just themes that I'm watching, themes that we have researched, and themes that I want you to know to be aware of as to how they work so that you can choose to get some exposure if you would like it, if you want to take that opportunity, knowing that they've already given us this playbook. Now, here's the bottom line. Trump's 2025 presidency is more than just this insane political shift. It is a roadmap for where the money is moving. So from AI to oil, from military to manufacturing, every policy creates a lot of ripple effects. And those ripples, we got to watch them because they are where the smartest investors thrive because they're telling you what the arbitrage opportunities are. So please, please, please don't get caught up in the headlines because they're already here. Follow the money. Follow the money. Spot the patterns when we're being given the political playbook. And it's a chance for you to make your move before the opportunities passes by. Now, here's the big reason for that. Because while everyone else just debates the politics, you, by listening to this, will already be building your future. Hey, if you like this episode, I went on a different direction here. So kind of do me a favor. Our team did a lot of research to build this together. I want to know if things like this are beneficial to you. So if you could do me a favor and you like this and you want me to make more like this for you, could you just screenshot this episode and post it on social and tag me? That way I know you like it and I can make more like this for you. So if you like this, please screenshot this episode and tag me and I can make more like this for you.